Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Kasper.
Let's continue to talk more about the big news from last night. The Brewers trading Freddy Peralta to the New York Mets, along with Tobias Myers and such. And to help us break it all down is our good friend, Hunter Baumgardt, Brewers reporter for Fox Sports 920, Fox Sports Radio Wisconsin. Hunter, thanks for joining us on short notice this morning, sir.
Absolutely. Always happy to join you, Dan. And when these types of things happen, it's a lot of information to try to take in and understand about the players coming back and why the Brewers would make this type of move, but always enjoy talking about it.
Well, we appreciate it. So first things first, I mean, did you get the sense that, okay, something was going to happen? Because it felt like in the last couple of days or maybe a week or so, the rumors and the rumblings kept getting louder, it felt like. Did you kind of assume that, okay, this is probably going to happen before spring training?
It did. We went through the first, month of the offseason or so, right? Or a couple months, November, December, and I'm like, I think if there's going to be a player other than Willy Adames that they keep through their last year of their deal that's set up for a big-time deal afterwards, Freddy Peralta might be one of those guys they keep. And so through the first couple months of the offseason, I was like, all right, it's kind of looking that way. And then, things started to pick up. There's kind of been, it feels like, there over the winter meetings there were moves made, and then there's kind of been this second wind of moves made. Mets making a fair amount of them. Obviously, Bo Bichette recently signed, and Cody Bellinger with the Yankees yesterday, Alex Bregman with the Cubs a couple of weeks ago or 10 days ago. So there's been this second wave, and and then the rumors really started to pick up. Like you mentioned, the Dodgers were a team that the rumors were circling around, because they haven't added enough this offseason. But so that was already swirling, and then over the last couple of days, the Mets rumors started to really pick up, and then when there was a report yesterday morning about how it looked like the Brewers had submitted an offer for these two players, Jet Williams and Brandon Sproat, it looked like, okay, there's some smoke to this fire, and then last night it came down. So it's a thing that I was hoping they'd keep him just because it makes your 2026 team better. But the Brewers have been so incredibly good at doing exactly what they did last night, trading a player away of a high caliber with 1 year left on his deal and getting young players back who are going to contribute and are the type of guys the Brewers want in their organization, and we'll see if it works again.
Hunter, I'll ask you this because we've had a couple listeners bring this up. Is this almost an example of the current state of baseball, where you've got a smaller market team that, hey, we know we're not going to be able to afford this guy next year, so we got to trade him. We got to move on from him just to get something in return. I mean, would you agree with that assessment?
100%. I mean, it's just, you look at, other sports, whether it be football, basketball, other sports where, yes, there are instances where, okay, there's a guy 1 year left on his deal and you get something for him. I think basketball is maybe, the second most sport that maybe that happens in. But I just think that this is how baseball is set up, and the Dodgers signing Kyle Tucker recently is just another example of the disparity. And people can, yell and be mad at Marquette Nacio, which I don't understand because look at the business side of baseball. For Marquette Nacio and the owners, right, they're trying to make a profit. They own a business. At the end of the day, it's a business. And they also want to win, I'm sure, and as Marquette Nacio has said, and a lot of these owners say. But at the end of the day, they also have to make money, and the Brewers overall have to make money and sustain themselves and all of that. And you add in this TV deal that is now in question, and we're hopefully going to find out a little more of that by the end of the month. We'll see of FanDuel being in question, whether they're going to go under and what the Brewers would then do. And that's another chunk of money that the Brewers would not be able to make when the Dodgers TV deal is like $300 million. It's just so different in Milwaukee. So with all of that combined, it really is when you look at what the Dodgers did in the last week, signing Kyle Tucker, and what the Brewers had to do last night, that is exactly what the state of baseball is. But the thing about it is the Brewers have been really, really good at going against the grain and being able to stand up to those teams and be better than the Mets last year. I mean, they're better than everybody over the regular season, and of course they fell to the Dodgers in the NLCS, and that's where you saw maybe a little bit of that gap there. But I just think this really is it's a referendum on the state of baseball, and I think we're going to obviously have some answers coming up next offseason in those CBA negotiations, and if this changes at least a little bit.
What can you tell us from what you know about the two prospects that are coming back, Jet Williams and Brandon Sproat? Now, I was kind of looking at what are some Mets fans' reactions, and I saw a lot of them saying, wow, the Mets gave up a lot for Freddy Peralta. So if you're a Brewers fan, that's got to at least, I would say, kind of make it feel a little bit better from what you got in return.
For sure. I think this was really a well-done job by Matt Arnold in going out and getting the players he wanted. I mean, these are two players, he said last night, that these are two players they've been looking at and wanting to acquire, and why not? Two of the top 5 prospects in the Mets organization, two of the top 100 prospects in baseball, and Jet Williams, you start with him. Shortstop mainly, but he can play second. He can play the outfield. He can do a lot. Positional versatility, which the Brewers absolutely love. And the guy fits the stature. You can compare him a little bit to Caleb Durbin, right? He's 5'7", 175, got a lot of speed, and 14th overall pick in 2022. Matt Arnold saying last night, quote, "It's Murph's style of player." Like that, and that fits exactly right with him. A lot of speed, 388 on base through his minor league career so far, has yet to make his major league debut, was in Double-A for about 95 games last year, played 96 games in Double-A, then 34 games in Triple-A. Numbers weren't as good in Triple-A, but obviously that takes some getting used to, and it was towards the end of the season. But what do the Brewers love? They love speed. They love guys that can get on base. They like guys who make good swing decisions. That's another strength of Jet Williams' game. So Williams has a little more raw power than Caleb Durbin. Durbin is a little more bat to ball, so maybe you could even see some more pop from Jet Williams than a guy like Caleb Durbin, but they're very similar in that way, and I'm excited to see where he goes. Now, Brandon Sproat was a second-round pick in 2023 of the Mets, 25 years old, right-handed pitcher. Last year, he was in the majors for just 4 starts, so 4.79 ERA, but it's hard to really make anything out of that in just 4 starts. He was the only Mets starter last year to hit 99 on the radar gun. So you think about that, you pair him with a Jacob Mizorowski. The game of baseball as a whole right now is really going towards heat, right? When you think of some of the best pitchers in baseball, it's a lot of how hard they can throw, and 100 and 100 plus. He hit 100 in AAA as well. So 6 different pitch types for him, and has a history of good ground ball rates. And that is exactly what the Brewers want with a good defensive infield. Maybe Jet Williams is one of them eventually, but obviously Bryce Terang, the Gold Glover, Platinum Glover, and Joey Ortiz. We all know about his defense and what Durbin did last year. So you've got good infield guys around you. Kind of, obviously Quinn Priester is known for his ground ball rates. So again, another guy that fits the Brewers mold, and it really has worked in the last, since 2018 of bringing these guys in, and especially the last few years of bringing these types of players into the organization, and it obviously led you to 97 wins and an NLCS appearance last year.
We're chatting with Brewers reporter for Fox Sports 920 in Milwaukee, Hunter Baumgardt. You mentioned the infield depth. Well, I mean, you look at the top 30 prospect list, Hunter, and the top 4 are all middle infielders, shortstops, second baseman and such, with Jesus Mate, Luis Pena, Jet Williams, and Cooper Pratt. And I'm sure there's probably going to be some people say, well, they all can't play. So, I mean, did the Brewers kind of set, and then you throw in Joey Ortiz, who right now is the current starter, did the Brewers set themselves up to a potential, hey, if we got to make a move to maybe acquire a bat or another player at the trade deadline, now they got a little bit of a position at depth where they can make that move and still feel comfortable about that depth?
Totally. They absolutely. Now, would I bet on them making that type of deal is another question, because they just love to keep these guys, and for good reason. Those 4 guys you just listed off are incredibly talented, and I think will all play a part in the major league level, whether it is for the Brewers or if they do make some type of deal down the road. I think Jesus Mate is probably still a full season away. We'll see what Cooper Pratt does this year. Probably going to be most of it in AAA, maybe a late season come up. And then Pena, I think, is similar when it comes to Jesus Mate, maybe a little bit behind. We'll see. But I think then you talk about Jet Williams. I think Matt Arnold saying last night that he'll compete for an opening day roster spot. I would think he's more of a Caleb Durbin type into last year, meaning Durbin started the year in AAA, but on April 18th made his MLB debut. I have a feeling Jet Williams may do something similar. I don't know if it's going to be April, but I have a feeling that I would be surprised if he's not at some point a part of the Major League club in 2026, which would be his MLB debut. And maybe an injury or an IL stint by someone is a reason for that, because I do think they're going to try Joey Ortiz one more time at shortstop. Matt Arnold has talked about that over the winter here. I do think they'll start there. And then I don't think there's going to be an incredibly long leash there. I think they let him go throughout those season last year. Now, they do prioritize, obviously, defense. So that is going to weigh on them, right? If you have to take Joey Ortiz out because his bat isn't doing well, you do give up on the defensive side. But if you think Jet Williams is a very good guy, I mean, he has a really good arm. And if you think he can do admirably or maybe not to the type of defense Joey Ortiz has, but close, maybe you do that. Do you try Terang over there at some point? I think there's going to be some mixing and matching, and maybe the opening day infield is not necessarily the infield come September, but I love having depth there. You also have some depth, especially at the major league level in the outfield, and Jet Williams can play out there as well. So I like where the infield sets up because it gives you now, I think, more of a safety valve, so to speak, for a Joey Ortiz if he performs at the plate like he did in 2025.
Last question for you, Hunter. Going back to the pitching, you throw in, Sproat on this. You look at this roster, obviously Brandon Woodruff now, the veteran of this group, but you've got Jacob Misiorowski, Chad Patrick, Quinn Priester, all these guys that actually have like starting experience mixed in here too, and some of them, probably coming out of the bullpen. I don't know what the plan would be for Aaron Ashby and such, but what's your thoughts on this? Because to me, when I look at this, I'm like, this is a unique makeup of their 40-man roster when you just look at the pitchers, because you've got so many guys that have started games. You throw in even a Logan Henderson and a DL Hall. You think this is by design too, where they can have that flexibility? Because last year, too, we opened up the season and their starters were so banged up, they had to be going out there to try to find a Quinn Priester to go acquire.
For sure, and super excited to see what he can do in year 2 as a Brewer. And I think, so I think this is a big reason why they made this deal and felt comfortable making this deal, is because they have so many guys. Now, they're not as proven as Freddy Peralta, obviously, but they have so many guys that have so much potential. We saw the type of potential from every single one of those guys you mentioned. Logan Henderson, another guy to throw in there. Like you wonder where they're all going to fit. Obviously, some are going to be starters, and probably some in the bullpen as well. But I do think it's also great to have Brandon Woodruff as your ace now. You're in a really good spot if Brandon Woodruff is your opening day starter, which all signs would point to that being the case. Matt Arnold saying last night that Woodruff is on pace to, he's healthy and he's on pace and having a normal offseason, which is great. So with that being the case, you love that. And then Brandon Woodruff says, all right, kids, let's get on the bus and see where we can go. It's kind of like all the young guys behind him. Now, Aaron Ashby's obviously a little more experienced and a couple guys, but otherwise you've got a lot of young guys, a lot of guys who made their major league debuts last year. And I think that is, having a off season where you have major league experience now, and for a lot of them, major league success, whether it be for a small stint or a longer stint, I think that helps, because then you can really focus in on what you need to in the off season and come in knowing you're in all likelihood, making that major league roster and have a legitimate chance at an opening day rotation spot. So I think that can only help you mentally for some of those players as well. So yeah, I like how it sets up, and I think Sproat is definitely going to compete for that. I would, do they maybe have him as a long relief role? Maybe, but I also think he could be very enticing when it comes to maybe backing up right? Like you have Misiorowski as your 2, and who knows in the future, but maybe a Sproat as your 3, right? You have a guy one night that's throwing 100+, and then Sproat comes in and he's hitting 99 and 100. Like that could be really enticing and really fun to watch for Brewers fans. So I think this is a reason why the Brewers made this deal, is because they were trading away from a position of depth. And I think it's going to be tested a little bit, obviously, without Freddy Peralta, because you have some unproven guys as far as longevity in the major leagues, but you have a ton of upside in that pitching staff.
Fantastic stuff. Hunter Baumgardt, Brewers reporter for Fox Sports 920 in Milwaukee. We really appreciate your insight, your expertise on this, and hanging out with us this morning, dude. Awesome stuff. If you are a listener, make sure you are following Hunter on X/Twitter at Hunter B on air, Facebook, Hunter Baumgardt Sports. We're going to share that up there too. Dude, appreciate it as always, man. Stay warm though too, okay? I don't know if you're going to be getting the frigid like we are up here and up north. So, well, you worked at Tomahawk, so you got to be used to it a little bit. So, right?
Exactly, 100%. That definitely made me used to it. I think everybody's getting it here in Wisconsin this weekend. So yeah, everybody stay warm, and baseball season will be right around the corner, right before right coming around. So I can't wait. Thanks,
exactly.
Guys.
Thanks, Hunter. There you go, Hunter, joining us this morning. Good stuff from Hunter. Awesome stuff. We appreciate it.